Aloha. With this video, I wanted to continue off the last video, specifically addressing the the reversing of your consciousness to implode itself. The coming here into this experience, into this realm, into this body as with a purpose that is directly related to your soul, and based upon the challenges set upon you before you get here by your own like signing of a contract with this experience. That's what I explained. For the people, I'm just trying to break down what I kind of like loosely broke down in the last video. But to summarize a little bit, there's a relationship. There's like this. There's a relationship that lasts forever between the experience and the Most High as its own thing, like a soul, like the soul of this experience and the essence of the Most High, or the everything of the Most High. There's a relationship there. There's a purpose. There's a communication. There's a real evolution. There's a something there. Now we have this feeling of separation, or this feeling of complex differences for a purpose, like a beauty of diversity, plant life, animal life, and even in, it seems to be the souls of people. So the souls of people seem to be beautifully diverse, you know, this beautiful color and differences in everything that seems to be as soulful, as distinct as the soul of the earth, the experience itself, within the intelligence of the Most High as a whole, like subcategories. And in these subcategories, they have interactions. So the soul of the individual has an interaction with the soul of the experience. This is just, I have a feeling, and I'm sure it's way more, there's a way more simpler way to explain it, but to simpler in a space of more correct, because this is not to say it's not correct, it's just to say that it's an expansion of a relationship, that there's questions that within the observation that will be answered. I haven't answered them for myself yet, but as of right now, how I perceive what's going on, there are some definite, like, solid realities that I feel and have based upon like my research and paying attention to what's going on, that makes sense to me. I don't, call whatever the Most High is, God or anything. I don't even like calling it that, whatever it is, a name at all, because that presupposes a direct separation from you. Not saying that you're God or I'm God, just saying that just having that separation, like the God. I know we're all expressions of the Most High, but I'm just talking about anyway, whatever. So you have the earth soul, you have your soul, and then you have the Most High. And for whatever reason, it seems that when those things interact in an experience, when a soul interacts with an experience, as per the loosely, that's another thing, a loosely written contract with the Most High and this experience, as far as loosely, as far as like, it still feels like the soul has a choice in the matter, and that's another thing. Choice to what degree, then that determines what choice is. So I'll get into this whole definition thing and all that, because all this stuff fits in. It's all the same thing about like how we define ourselves, how we don't define ourselves, and then how the definitions of our reality. Like, what is humanity? Humanity is about as organic. The word humanity is as about organic as the word heliocentrism. Right, Kenya? Heliocentrism is about organic as the word humanity. Prove me wrong. You can't. It's an invention. The word humanity is an invention no different than the word heliocentrism. The word humanity is as dangerous as the word heliocentrism, especially today, because today is the next gear that will be selling the next mind control. Heliocentrism was used and is being used to sell colonial mind control. I use those words to get more specific, but it's really narrow. It's really boiling down to control overall, the authority of intelligence, the authority of power, the authority to genocide people with the approval of a whole bunch of other people like them. Souls, removing this experience by the approval of other souls. Genocide. Now accepted as mainstream modern reality and human. It's humanity's problem that goes to war. It's humanity's problem that wants to control everything and take over everything. It's humanity. It's a human issue to engage in all of this garbage that's going on in modern society. It's a human thing. It's a human trait to destroy the rainforest. It's a human trait to spray chemtrails in the sky. It's a human trait to lynch people who have darker skin than you. It's a human trait. It's a human trait to blow up an entire church full of people who have different skin colors than you. It's a human trait to put this in law. Kenya, don't go there, please. Hey. I'm gonna sit here and just stare at you. Make you uncomfortable for making that sound again. He's still gonna do it. Kenya, look at me in my eyes. Please don't do that. Don't move your little beak. Yeah, okay. It's a human trait to always want to have a dog or a cat around you. It's totally not a codependency thing. It's totally not a gap filler, a space filler. It's a human trait to engage in all the garbage, all the fuckery that's going on in mainstream society. It's a human trait to, you see what I'm saying? All the destructive things, all the garbage, all the stuff that needs to be rationalized in society, rationalized in your enslavement program, all that stuff, that needs to be validated by the experience. So this is how the soul of the experience gets created. It gets created by first creating or not creating a definition for your soul. So both of these are happening. You get a loose, like commercial version of the soul, and then you get not at all a definition, nothing, and ignorance from the government of the soul. It's either or not the government, but the authorities of this mind control. Like the government, the university system, they don't talk about souls. They only talk about science. So what that inherently does is it kills the soul. It kills the relationship that you have to your soul, and the soul's relationship to the experience. Kenya, please don't go there. So you have, thank you for being quiet about it, but just please. Okay, so the soul of the earth is defined by soulless beings in a whole different realm of consciousness. So when they de-evolve the consciousness of the experience, they are de-evolving your relationship to yourself and your expression to yourself, your expression of yourself, and inherently affecting the relationship you have to this experience. So the word humanity is designed to give the definition of this, the soul of the earth. All right, that's what we're gonna do. Here you go, Kenya. Let me give you something visually because you can't really hear that. Bear with me, guys. I'm putting something else on for Kenya. So yeah, I wrote some stuff down, but that's new. That came out of just the freestyle. I didn't know, but that's kind of like, seems to be like the most important, potent thing to be talking about now. Which is the murdering of the soul of the earth through words like humanity. It's not a real thing. It also destroys you, like a part of your soul relationship is where? First of all, it's in where the hell? I'm kind of distracted. It's in the hands of the people who lied to you in the first place, who want to control you in the first place. So this is about power, and what I'm getting ready to list off, that's also about power too as well. That's what I was trying to say. The power is the real issue. The power is what this so-called powers that be are really interested in. So when you're talking flat versus globe, are you really talking about power? No. You're talking about, that's a childish, that's like and I'll explain this even further. It's this disempowered approach to what you're really talking about. Hold on, Kenya. Maybe I'll put something on Netflix for you to do it. Do your little thing from seeing your homies. Okay, so we have now it's some smoke alarms going off. There's always some, so this is the downside to being in a highly congested area, especially like city lights. There's always something going on, more distractions, harder to keep your attention in any kind of way. But there are also some benefits from being around a lot of people. If you're asking me personally, I wouldn't say the benefits outweigh the in any kind of way. They do not outweigh the downfalls. Okay, here we go. Cool. So I just put something with birds on for Kenya. She likes glancing over sometimes. Maybe able to use some magic, Kenya, to distract you. Like we get distracted. That's what I'm talking about. Hopefully you won't make them annoying ass sounds. Okay, here we go. Where was I at? The soul of the earth. The soul of the earth, the Most High, your soul. You, the soul. Okay. Get a job. What? Get a job, you loser. Like, so, you know, so how far is that away from even recognizing that you are the soul? Your resources that this is how it's controlling of your soul, by controlling of your body. The house of your soul is controlled. Then your soul, hence your soul, is now controlled. So you don't have to control the soul. For people who are getting all like, oh my God, flat earthers and conspiracy theorists are saying interdimensional beings are enslaving humanity and all this other stuff. That's how they make it stupid. They put Alex Jones on there to talk about interdimensional beings are enslaving humanity and they're doing all this other stuff. And then, you know, people don't even listen to it. But when you simplify it and say, no, it's not that you know, crazy and all that other stuff. This is it really boils down to your soul can be enslaved. There is a spiritual warfare. Your soul can be enslaved as an accomplice to your physical body being enslaved. Or is like, there's a better word than accomplice, but just like in order to, I really don't want to hear him talking. In order to enslave the soul, which is the intent, because that's when they can become gods, beyond kings over you, through the way you perceive this. This goes into from the last video, this goes into the energy that is lost or not utilized and siphoned off by beings who are aware of that magic, beings who are aware of that energy. This energy exists. Where does it go? When people are talking about, we are batteries, like in the Matrix and all that other stuff, you're just a battery. Well, what is that? We haven't really broken that down. The Matrix came out in like 1999. Like, how many people have broken that down? Like 4 pretty good breakdowns on all of YouTube. Like, that's really, I mean, not to say that the Matrix is the whatever. I'm just saying, like, as an example of how many different breakdowns are we really getting into as far as conspiracy theorists and truthers and all that other stuff. Like, this is the stuff that's missing in the so-called truth community. It's not a truth community if it's only about reactionary truth, or if it's only about the lies. The truther community right now is, in my opinion, only about the lies. And this flowery idea of a superhero saving the earth or saving or doing something amazing. And that's sprinkled in with all this Christian savior programming going on. This is why so many Christians are in this community talking about they have the ultimate truth, because they have this egotistical connection to God and through their Bible and so on and so forth, and which is kind of like arrogantly telling you to go fuck yourself. Your soul connection. Oh yeah, yeah. Come on, just come around to the real thing, okay? That's the arrogance there, and that's not everybody. I know there's an acceptance and all that other stuff for other people who are well aware of the various relationships that we have to the Most High. But I'm talking about the mainstream, like the government, that relationship that is living in individuals as well, because you see it all the time, living in individuals as well, telling you, oh, you're not a Christian? Then what are you? They know what you are. They don't care what you are. You're just not a Christian. Which means you're going to hell. You're just like a piece of shit, just garbage. You have a chance of saving yourself. You just have to like submit to our God. But you know, you seem like a good guy. You seem like a good dude. You're still damned to hell, you fucking horrible piece of shit. But you know, whatever. Whatevs. On to the next So, so the definitions and lack of definitions are what are really keeping us from activating who and what we are on deeper levels, on the soul level. How that's happening is like what I was saying. In order to enslave the soul, it doesn't have to be this interdimensional being, you know, connected to the cabal and the Illuminati behind the scenes. It doesn't have to be all of that. It just has to be as simple as realizing that the house of the soul, this body, that just needs to be enslaved in order to enslave the soul, because that's the gate, the bridge between the body and the soul can be seen as the mind. So if you are mind controlled, then it's you that enslaves your soul. If you're body controlled, and that's easy to do because all you have to do is control your resources, that was done during the lower consciousness time frames, which was acceptable. So what happens is that these beings, even in the non-physical, you can see it as that from that perspective, from the non-physical, they do what they can. The maximum capacity of the consciousness of the individuals, they do what they can based upon the capacity of the individuals, or the consciousness of the individuals. And then that's done not necessarily for what's going on right in the immediate present moment, but it's mostly designed to affect the larger timelines and the influence, the engagement of those beings or entities in the future. So this is, like I said, this boils down to time again. This will always boil down to time. Fake truth, or I want to say fake truth, but half truth, or let's see, truth that is not anchored at first in the empowerment, like that space, because that's where it has to come from. What is true? What is truth? Like, what is energy? Like, what is potential energy without kinetic energy? Does that mean it's bad? No. It just means that they work hand in hand. Like, you're going to be losing something. Like, if you can access your kinetic energy, then, well, first of all, to activate kinetic energy, you have to have first potential energy of some sort. So what happens is that humanity, and the word humanity, gets maxed out at just the understanding, understanding, and overstanding of that half truth, that half life, that half expression at best. We are told that half is whole. We are the same way you are told that destructive is normal, is human. None of these qualities, first of all, the authority figures, the same authority figures that generated the Bible and the Crusades, that whole religious takeover, the same consciousness that developed that is developing your definitions and lack thereof of who and what you are, the experience itself. We haven't addressed that, and this is why the truth community exists, to keep you from paying attention to certain truths. This is another thing that's not being said by a lot of so-called truthers in the truther community. There's truth that exists to keep you from going to deeper truths. The whole atmosphere of the truther community is that reality. This reaction lie-based truth. It's not about that. No, empowering truth exists out there. Who are you? What are you? What's going on? The truth is not based upon the Illuminati and the cabal and all that other stuff. The truth is based upon a whole complex interaction of things. Yeah, you can get simple, but in reference to, you know, this, because truther community, that's what it is boiling down to. It's talking about what is truth, what is in general. based upon this entire experience. Not just, commercial truth. See, this is another way you can see what I'm talking about before. Commercial truth now. That's commercial truth. Reactionary truth or truth based upon lies, that's real truth. All right, jobs in the future. Let's see. Indispensable. This system makes itself indispensable to so-called humanity. The authority of this system has made its job is to make it indispensable. Because as long as it's indispensable to you, its energy source, which is you, is in a forever relationship with it. This is why the name or the word humanity and all that stuff has to be out there, and all that unity and oneness and one world stuff and the lack of definitions of what's going on. This is why all this stuff has to be put out there like this. This is why this stuff has to exist. So as long as you have what's going on with hold on a second, sorry for the delay. All right. As long as you have something filling some space in some kind of reality in the experiencer's like moment and how they perceive this whole reality, that's all you need. You need that little bit of distraction. And that little bit of distraction, like I said, the fear, that's a little bit of distraction. The insecurity of not having enough human resources to appease the housing facility of your soul, the body. So the housing facility of your soul is put on lease. Like you are, with the birth certificate program, the maritime admiralty system, that whole thing, you're basically put on, your soul is put on like on a contract at that time by alchemists who are working alchemy on you, and you don't even realize it because you've been conditioned not to. Indispensable. Okay, let me try and breeze through this because I want to shorten this up. Okay, so the image that you're looking at right now, this is obviously the latest last week tonight to emphasize the news or mainstream media, like the middle ground of the mainstream dialogue is it's kind of like these late night talk shows are a good example of that, because you have like TYT, Alex Jones. They're not mainstream, they're not fringe. According to the mainstream, according to us, they're obviously mainstream. But according to the mainstream, they're fringe, they're crazy. Alex Jones is crazy. TYT, Bernie Sanders, whoa. A third party? Oh my goodness. They'd rather move to socialism. Well, that's the whole thing. It's not a they, it's a whole it. It has been moving towards this world domination they're calling socialism forever. So how they do that is to make you need things, to make you require things over and over and over again. You require food, you require this, you require things that the system provides for you. So in order to make that relationship, that indispensable relationship to the slave master more relevant, more important, they have to glorify and glorify theories, glorify illusions, glorify the mind control, and glorify the story overall. So this is what Trump represents. He's a glorifier of garbage, nothing. He's empty nothing. Same with last week, tonight, and this whole thing. But specifically with storylines, like they have to glorify global warming, obviously. For what? The whole global thing. So the word global, like I said, as dangerous as the word humanity is, global is the same thing. It's all in movement towards something. It's all in movement towards something specifically related to control by the authority figures who created the illusion in the first place. So you have one of the biggest ways to keep that storyline going is through this artificial intelligence technology, transhumanism, simulation theory, mind control programming. So we have, as long as you have an evolution, a human evolution towards technology, now technology has become part of your soul, your human experience. It's made technology indispensable for your whole reality. Just the same way it made itself indispensable for you. So make it even deeper, they make their systems indispensable to you. So making technology indispensable in your reality is a way to control your reality. And controlling your reality is a way to control your soul. And control your soul through the mind. So mechanical slaves is a term that's used in here over and over and over again. It's just joked around Kenya. When he's joking like that, he's joking about slavery itself. They're just laughing in the faces of people. They can just laugh, and this is another part, obviously, but it's making, people insensitive to that storyline. It makes the whole reality just non-existent. Like your slave conversation is laughable to me. Ha 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 ha. I just heard a joke about slavery. So this is that's why I said some of this information is meant to exist to keep you from truth, to keep you from actual real truth, deeper truth, empowered truth. And how that happens is by emphasizing all of these other mind controls, like comedically locking you into your own self-hatred, your own enslavement. Mechanical slaves. So they refer to robots or artificial intelligence as mechanical slaves. And mechanical slaves are going to take our jobs. They're going to take your jobs. Can you? So mechanical slaves are going to take your jobs. So this is on purpose. The system wants this. They're not. This is the game that's being played. You really think all that the system has been working towards? This happened in the industrial age, the way they were talking about this in this video too. You really think that this whole system has been working towards automation for no fucking reason? Like to just throw it away? Oh, we worked towards not to robots to take over and do everything. And then not do it when they have the opportunity to do it? No, they're telling you that we should be careful about this. They're trying to tell you that they are two different entities. It's trying to tell you that it has one group of entities or one group within the same program that cares about you and one group of people that doesn't care about you. But that entity is the same thing. It's like personalities, like the Democrats and Republicans. They got a personality trait. Okay, so one asshole villain has a personality trait that wants to help you and take care of you. That's what it's sold to you as. And then you have another personality trait that wants to kill and destroy you and enslave you and doesn't care about you and just, the ultimate everything. The God and devil program. The good and evil. It exists in the same entity. That's what they're selling to you. This is why Trump is out there. Because he's a good what's that that thing in between two things, like a teeter-totter, and in between the teeter-totter. He makes both sides look more obvious. Like he gives good contrast. He's the good middle ground to extreme contrast. The extreme contrast of white supremacy and so on and so further. That's used as an example of how far you can go. You can go even further than that to entities or beings being so disconnected from the Most High and now saying that they are God, and that everybody else is just this animal or insect or thing. That's the same, family group as the term white supremacy, or the consciousness of white supremacy. They're putting themselves higher, or at least on the same place as like God, to some degree, in reference, in reaction to, not because they've earned anything, any godliness or anything. That's that whole controlling of your own mind. You didn't earn, you can't explain why. Like, you haven't gotten into the how and the why you are of and the God. You just have theories of why you have a supremacy. There's nothing connected to it. So this is why a lot of these mind controls can work, because this is a real alchemy. This is how the real alchemy works. This mind control works. Mechanical slaves, take your jobs. Trump emphasizes that whole storyline of distraction, of half-truth. Because as long as you can have God, the God and the devil be so brightly expressed, because you have this middle ground of shit, like Donald Trump, makes it easier to understand what a devil is and to understand what a God is. Donald Trump, somebody as mayonnaise sandwich, plain and still like arrogant at the same time. That's the perfect way to prep for selling a cheap version of what God is, or the spirit is, or the soul is. A cheap version of selling a distraction for the whole, like a unity or a world thing. That's what Donald Trump is. He's out there to say, we need to let go of this old type of thinking, this old type of humanity. Like the Trump, that's what Trump represents. The old type of humanity. And as long as you can't introduce the new type of humanity unless you have first emphasized the so-called old type of humanity. That's why Trump is there even more so. I don't even have to go through the rest of this list, because that pretty much boils everything down of why all this shit is sold to you as normal. That's the whole point. It's sold to you to lock in this idea that there is some kind of evolution, which is why evolution is so, monkey evolution in particular, is so important on addressing in the flat earth discussion, and completely that right there outranks the flat versus globe conversation, period. Like, why would you even waste your time talking about some adolescent shit like that when you can get into some deep professor shit, like some psychological professor shit in reference to, see, right now mainstream flat earthers are talking like 4th grade flat earth. They're not really getting into the PhD programs of what flat earth really means in reference to the mind control, the lie itself, humanity and stuff like this. 4th grade flat earth is and that's not, I'm not talking shit about 4th graders. Like, I'm talking about like, oh yeah, fuck 4th graders, man, they don't know shit. No, I went through 4th grade too. I know what 4th grade is about. I'm just not going to turn 4th grade. Actually, the 4th grade flows off the tongue better, but 6th grade is actually a better analogy there, because 6th grade is also used in this like gentrification, new codependent consciousness human world, where you have, who the fuck graduates from 6th grade? You don't graduate from 6th grade, but this is the whole intention of the world, of that world. to graduate. I mean, graduating from high school is just as stupid as graduating from 6th grade. But, you know, now you see how extra stupid that is when when you realize that now they are making people graduate from 6th grade now. What does that mean? Why? That exists to have an emotional attachment to your own enslavement, an emotional attachment to your so-called education. Also to trap you in that world earlier. Because that's why graduating from elementary, if they try to introduce this shit in the 80s or the 60s and the 70s, they would have been laughed at. Because they're like, what the fuck? That would have been some real New World Order shit. And they would start to ask too many questions. But since people are so dumbed down now, they can just introduce anything now. So, yeah. Graduating from 6th grade. Why? So late night talk shows are like the new... What was I talking about? There was a... Let's see. How we are locked down. Okay, so these are the ways that we are sold. Anyway, let me just list them off because I kind of want to end this video. Late night talk shows emphasize the story, aliens in Hollywood, politics. So all this stuff is accepted. These are your acceptable definitions too in this whole selling of how will the system grow to socialism? How will it grow to universal, like international socialism? How will it grow, or at least national socialism? How will it grow to, because that might be the step to international socialism, but national socialism might not be accepted. So in order to make it accept, this is actually the whole point of this video. It seems like the system might be aware that national socialism might not be accepted by like the good old American boys and that whole thing. So the only way it will be accepted is if it's international, if it's not American doing this, but it's American sponsored international socialism, fighting poverty, fighting destruction, and basically fighting all the problems that itself created in the first place. The colonial program created, the colonial mind, the genocide, the conquering of the lands created these problems that socialism or the international control grid is claiming to fix. The same villain that created the problems that we were trying to fix now is now trying to say that it is the individual that you should be trusting to fix the problems. That's addressing the authority. And a lot of people haven't gotten there yet, because that involves letting go of that authority to some degree, or to, not some degree, all completely. So how that reality makes itself indispensable to you over and over and over again is by selling you stories like this. How will it sell in the international or the national socialist program? It will take all your jobs, and like I said before, like it's been working towards automation since it created this whole thing. You think that it's gonna create like you think it's not going to go any further with that agenda? No, it's going to go, it needs to go further. So that makes the point of why they're doing it even more obvious. Why are they selling this storyline that computers or robots are going to take your jobs? Because they want you to get used to an idea of not having a job, first of all, but when you don't have a job, they can give you money or some kind of resources to fix it. And then here's another socialist thing, another world dominance thing. Global warming was another thing to promote this global or world thing. This is obvious mentality. The New Age, sells that unity, peace, sustainability, free energy. The New Age is all about that. And like, by me saying that, am I saying that, you know, free energy and all that stuff is bad? No, obviously. I'm just saying that this is the stuff that's used. The good stuff will be sold to you by bad entities, or so-called bad entities that have nothing but their own agendas in mind. Nothing but their own worlds in mind. At your expense. They will sell you this whole sustainability and New Age and peace and all that other stuff. Like the way they will sell it to you, or to certain people, will be like the New Age. Other people, they'll sell it with fear. They'll sell that sustainability and all that other. The same way the New Age sells you peace and unity and sustainability, that's a consciousness person. That's a person that's being sold at a certain consciousness. The other person at a different consciousness is sold a different way. What you're looking at right now, John Oliver, that's an example of that same mentality being sold to a different type of consciousness. That mentality is being sold to individuals who are controlled by their emotions or fear or their lower bodies. So they need to be told, some people need to be told even lower than that, robots are going to take your jobs. And then in this place, in this consciousness, you have people who are laughing at people who are in that conversation of their jobs being taken. So that you can see the so-called elevation or evolution of that consciousness. From, they took our jobs, to, ha 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 ha, this is funny. We're moving towards a better life where, you know, computers are going to take our jobs, but it'll be okay because, you know, we're not even addressing slavery in jobs and so on and so forth and that whole thing. But you can see that. And then you get out of that, you go to the New Age, same thing. It's okay, you know, just allow the agendas to keep going on. But as long as we keep moving towards peace, unity, sustainability. In their words, they use democratic socialism. That's what they call it. So you have the New Age selling the same, moving towards the New World Order consciousness. Then you have another way to sell it is like the bad AI. So like Donald Trump is like a bad AI sold to sell you the good AI. Why would they sell you? Why would they promote a bad artificial intelligence? Why would they promote anything bad? To emphasize that which they are telling you is good. So the bad AI is out there to look bad, really bad, like Donald Trump. So in the future, they can sell you something really good. Robot failures gives the idea of evolution. So technological evolution is tied up into your so-called human evolution. Like I said before, that's an illusion because you don't know what the word human is. So evolution is tied into technology. Technology is tied into your ultimate enslavement. And then you have this idea through evolution of things getting better. Your things getting better is tying down your consciousness, parts of your soul, which is affecting time. Why do you think time itself is determined by the sun circling or going through the universe, and the sun, you know, and the earth going around the sun? So this is how your soul is tied up into flat earth and time. So global warming. In this particular show, they use kids, and a kid was talking about she wanted to be a mermaid doctor. And, you know, all this stuff. So this is another way it's sold to you by, you know, tagging your inner child, your heartstrings. Oh, and making it, that's how they make it. They use kids to make things like dumb. Like even kids, you know, this is what kids are talking about. So they make it overshoot or over whatever that word is, overemphasize for effect. So global warming is another kind of thing that is put out there for people to think globally. That's another term. Like, what was that, Kaiser? Some business out there's tagline is called think globally. So that's another thing that's out there. Mermaids. Emphasize, okay, so yeah, just joking, and then obviously emphasizing the global warming thing. CERN, here's this evolution technology thing again, but also going into the future. That is going into the selling you of what you are for tomorrow. So you are sold who you are today. Like, you are sold what your ancestors were yesterday, and you're sold what you're supposed to be tomorrow. So you're sold and told that you were a caveman and a monkey. Now you're told that you're basically a biomechanical human thing, moving towards this completely separated from everything. Like, oh, that's what it is. Moving towards being able to insert your soul. So if they're telling you that they can put your soul into a computer, they're telling you that they have the same power as God. Because God naturally allowed an experience to have the soul go into the body. So you have, damn, I've never seen that before. So you have, damn, it's distracted me too. What was I talking about? The soul. Okay, so it's selling of the soul. Okay, yeah, they sell. All right, selling your soul. So they sell your soul. That's what the birth certificate program is. Put your soul up for lease, and then this entity will do this work, you know, for however long, and then boom, you don't do anything your whole life, you end up dead. They made good on their lease on your soul. So what is this? Your soul is put up. All right, I gotta get back to that point because that's what it was. Oh, inserting of the soul into certain bodies, making themselves equivalent to God, or at least a God. But what that also does is it downgrades like your soul, or what the soul is, and it also upgrades their world. So technology. So technology is equivalent to the human body when they're or the human, the spirit vehicle. So when they do that, they're telling you also that they understand what the spirit vehicle is. So look at all the shit that gets defined without you even knowing it. If they're telling you that they can put your soul into a computer, then they're telling you what is a soul. And then they have to tell you what the body is. But they don't know what the body is. They don't know what the soul is, but they can just tell you, because you're so damn stupid and simple, they can just tell you, oh, we can put your soul in the future into a computer box, and you can live forever. You're like, what the fuck? And then your soul's like believing in their authority. You're not even gonna ask them the biggest questions there. Hey, what is your definition of this spirit vehicle? What is this soul vehicle? What is this soul that you're removing and then putting somewhere else? What is this stuff? See, those questions are never asked. Why? Because you went to public school and you don't question authority. That's the equivalent of you asking the most intelligent teacher in the entire university something that's going to embarrass them in front of all their friends, like at an assembly, like at the last day of school assembly. You standing up and asking, you know, the smartest teacher or the principal or something like that question. That's, or some question that's going to make them insecure, uncomfortable, or embarrass them. That's why you don't ask that question. What is, and you also are supposed to know that too, like, because you have a degree, right? You got a PhD. What's the definition of a human? PhD. What's the definition of the soul? PhD. What's the definition of this soul that they're talking about putting into computers? Mr. Quantum PhD mechanics. What is that? They're not qualified. They're not equipped to give you that, because they only sell you the bullshit. It's the story that's the money maker. So yeah, that's the whole point, to downgrade all those systems and upgrade their systems. Downgrading your systems with their definitions and lack of definitions, and upgrading their own motives, their own agendas. All in the same moment. And at the same time, they're achieving godhood through your ignorance and your trust. You're worshiping them. So if they can create a universe where they make the beings of that universe, the souls of that universe, worship them as God, they are now God. Technology is God. The Western colonial universe is God. It's the hive mind. So we have CERN, simulation theory, doorways opening. So the same thing with like the body, human, and all that other stuff. Now they're telling you that they're opening up interdimensional doorways and all this other stuff. So like, what does that mean though? What is an interdimensional doorway? Oh, but Alex Jones and Joe Rogan can talk about it forever, but you know, they don't really get into it though. That's like the mainstream media, this fake ass in the truther community. It's just fake truth. There's no substance to it. So what else is there? Jobs. Oh, so one thing he says in here is jobs didn't go, Kenya, jobs didn't go, they were changed. Changed. Okay, so that's a way to sell this new world order of technology, the evolution. So like I was telling you, they're not going to sell technology to automate the whole world, only to not automate the whole world when they actually have the opportunity to do it. No. So why are they making it seem like this is an accident or this is a mistake? Because people are still hell-bent on their jobs, and jobs just that word can be switched with, interchangeable with slaves. And what's more important? The storyline of slavery. So they'll talk about the storyline of slavery and your enslavement. That's why technology and people are so dumb, like they're not even going to really go into this on purpose, like trained to be dumb on purpose. They're not even going to realize this. Like, this is on purpose. They're there on purpose. Technology is supposed to be automated, but now people who created technology are telling you that, oh, it's a bad thing. Why are they telling you it's a bad thing? Because they want to sell another thing bigger than that. Something bigger than technology is being sold to you. What is that? World technology, world control, world slavery. That's why, Kenya, don't go there, please. That's why I'm almost done. That's why it's being sold to you the way it's being sold to you. So the way John Oliver sells it to you, he says, hey, you know, he makes fun of, you know, they took our jobs, and he talks about that reality. He acknowledges those people. They took they took our jobs, or it took our jobs, people, robot took our job. But it sells you at the end, and he sells you with the kids at the end and that whole thing. But he sells it to you with this statement is what sells it to you. Because you can laugh about it, and this is what sells the next consciousness. John Oliver sells people what to think. He tells people what to think. So what did John Oliver think about this whole situation? He talked for 23 minutes about it, but what did he really say? He said, oh, this is funny, and oh, this exists, but this is the perspective that really matters. This is the perspective. Kenya, stop. And that perspective is jobs didn't go, they just changed. So that's an accepting of the New World Order mentality. That's what he wants people to think, and that's what the system wants people to think. You know, laugh this away, but ultimately just go back to the whole idea of accepting the change, the evolution of the slave master system. So let's see. Healthcare is another thing that's going to sell in the New World Order mentality. Healthcare, suppression for universal health later in the future. So why does everybody else, or like Canada and Europe have, in some places in Europe have universal healthcare, but the so-called peak of consciousness in the whole world, the Western world, is still because that's a business. That's the peak of the Western world is a business. So of course, and the business is slavery, nothing less. So if that's the case, of course they don't give a shit about the health of the people. So another benefit to that is that if they suppress healthcare, then they can also be the leaders of international healthcare. They can, if they suppress this is what I'm saying, saving all of your heavy hitters, saving all of your big things for a bigger control grid. The system's using the United States as an example of a world that is that should be evolving towards what is better, towards freedom and all that other stuff. So this is why, but in order to have the appearance of being better or changing, it has to be really fucked up. So the United States as a whole is like another example of like what Donald Trump is. It has to look really fucked up in order to sell in something cheap and mediocre that appears amazing. Mediocrity appears amazing when the first thing is sold all jacked up. So healthcare suppression forever, and the healthcare, like the health of the people being destroyed through the food and everything, helps that system, that codependency program. But the healthcare suppression emphasizes universal healthcare for everybody in the future. And what does that do? Is they doing that because they care about you, or we did it because we're amazing voters? We're the best voters in the universe. The best voters in the universe. We did it. No, we did it because we're doing something we're not even aware it's happening. We don't even know what's going on. So how they sell this, as a side note, another way of how they sell this stuff is through the media. I said this before. I just started watching the Umbrella Academy. I think I got to like episode 6. But that's another thing. Some things that were sold in there. Obviously what's being sold in there is a timeline, quantum mechanics, quantum physics, the simulation theory, the jumping of timelines thing, the superhero thing is another thing that's being, or theme is being sold. Like I said before, the superhero theme is also sold to emphasize your not being a so-called superhero, but you. So if they emphasize superpowers, what that does is emphasize to you your lack of power. This is why Marvel Universe, this is why superheroes have to exist too. As long as they have superheroes, they have super mediocrities. That's what you are. It emphasizes your normalness, your lack of power. And also, this is a thing in particular with the Marvel Universe, and with this quote too. When it emphasizes your lack of power and it emphasizes its own power, it emphasizes, hold on, Kenya, it makes itself equivalent to God. So by saying Thor is a god and Superman, like all these are gods and all this other stuff, and then making the Black Panther go to the United Nations and submit to the authority of, so it's saying that it's doing that to make the power and the authority of the United Nations or the world powers equivalent to God's. That's what that's for. And that's what all this whole programming is for. But that's what happened in the Umbrella Academy and all these superhero movies. Mostly what happened in the Umbrella Academy is talking about like the authority. So the authority figures are so smart that now they're manipulating time. The bad guys are now interdimensional time travelers. So this emphasizes the Alex Jones storyline that's being sold to you now. So the Alex Jones storyline of interdimensional beings and all this other stuff are doing this. That is sold to you by the Umbrella Academy. And then you don't really know what's going on, so you're not going to have any ability. You're not going to know what to... you're not going to know how to think about this stuff. You don't have any frame of reference. So you just let it be. You're in limbo land on purpose, which is where they want you to be. There was something else to Umbrella Academy, a whole bunch of things. I'll revisit it later when I finish it, because that's when you're going to realize like what the intentions are, because they say, this is how you should think. When they finalize the storyline, you can see, you know, what's going on when they tell you, this is how you should think. So healthcare, suppression in order to emphasize universal healthcare. The food, like I said, locked into your human resources, but specifically with this, same thing with the vegan agenda. Overemphasize something, distract you from something else. So talk about the overemphasizing within the vegan agenda is the overemphasizing of the attention on the establishment's relationship with animals, how it just treats animals like nothing, like garbage. So what that does is it makes you hopeless when the establishment doesn't acknowledge what you're saying. So it makes the establishment's power more powerful and you more powerless by not acknowledging you. So they'll play the vegan agenda over and over again because it makes itself look powerful and makes you look stupid and cheesy and mediocre and powerless ultimately. If these weak ass vegan, you know, this vegan agenda is weak as fuck. It's so narrow minded. It's not even at all going into the depths of what's going on. I'm going extreme right there. I'm not saying, you know, it's worthless. What I'm saying is that it's more dangerous than anything when you really boil down the effects of what's going on. So you think the vegan agenda is like another like revolution, like movement. Like you have this illusion of things getting better, people getting better, consciousness getting better, the system getting better, because and not only getting better, but getting better because we as a people are coming together as vegans, as all this other stuff, and making it better. And that whole thing, it's a superhero story. So yeah, the vegan agenda. So like I said, it has this illusion of getting better, but it also controls the dialogue and controls the movement overall, controls everything. So Black Lives Matter is another thing, another way they control, like I said, the vegan agenda, the Me Too movement, the 9/11, the way they talk about 9/11, like Joe Rogan, Eddie Bravo, and Alex Jones. They're like the ones who are dictating. Loosely speaking, they're the ones dictating the 9/11 discussion. And it's basically nothing. It's joked away by it's still being defended by Joe Rogan. He's the biggest one out there. Like he has the biggest mouthpiece out there. He's the one that's really hiding 9/11. Who's the biggest one not really talking about 9/11? Well, who has the biggest microphone? Who are the ones that are really not, you know, like personalize this shit. Get down to the nitty gritty. We're talking about information not being shared, not getting out. Who's this they that is not sharing information? Well, one of them is Joe Rogan, obviously. Like, if you want to talk about numbers and millions of people, this is why I focus on Joe Rogan, because he's an actual soldier ant out there doing stuff. towards bigger pictures. So like I said, you want to talk about 9/11 and 9/11 suppression, we'll get down to the nitty-gritty, start calling out these names. They're not talking about it. They who? Well, just you don't even have to get personal. They who just talk about they in reference to numbers on microphones. Well, who has the biggest number on microphones right now? One of the biggest ones dealing especially with this shit, 9/11, is Joe Rogan. So yes, he is one of the biggest assholes out there, keeping all of the people from going to the depths of humanity. He can have a 15-minute video put out on his live stream that he made. He can have an hour-long documentary on 9/11 just from the people he's had on his podcast. He can take all of the 9/11 revealing information compiled on all of his podcasts and make an amazingly thought out documentary about the information surrounding 9/11. It doesn't even have to be 9/11 truth or anything. He can just say like, this is what people talk about 9/11, and he can put that out there. Has he? No. In fact, he's done the opposite. He's kept people from even talking about this shit. The only reason why that information exists on his podcast is because other people brought that shit to the surface. Like when Eddie Bravo always goes on there and talks about Tower 7. He's talking about Tower 7 like Joe Rogan doesn't want to talk about Tower 7. So that's the shit we have to look at, like what's going on. Like really start narrowing this shit down. We talk about like 9/11 truths not getting out there. Fucking start calling these assholes out about it if you really want to get into it. Social media, so these are all control measures to make you think that, and also move it towards like all this stuff I'm listing off. These are the mechanisms used to move towards the new world order consciousness. So the mechanical slaves, so taking of your jobs, so your jobs is enslavement. You are. So jobs need to be internationalized, or at least the money part that comes with jobs needs to be internationalized. So New World Order, like I said, New World Order. Trump, like I said, emphasize the New World Order thinking. These are the bad guys. This is the good guys. Aliens, obvious New World Order stuff. It's promoted in Hollywood, politics, the government, everything. Even in your so-called ancestry now in the New Age movement. So it's not just Hollywood and politics and the government with aliens. It's now you. It's your so-called friends and all that other shit. They're thinking that they themselves are aliens from particular star systems that have been put out by this system. So the New Age then selling peace, unity, sustainability. They're selling everything that the New World Order wants to sell. Then you have the bad AI, that's sold to sell the good AI, and also the good people and the bad people. Robot failures emphasizes robot successes. Gives the idea of evolution and getting better with time. All this evolution and getting better is designed to steal your time, because time and consciousness is what really needs to be sold and stolen. Global warming, obviously, New World Order, fix global warming. That's really bad. It's a bad thing. Who's going to fix it? The good guys are going to fix it. CERN simulation theory. This is the future mentality of the New World Order. To sell you this godliness. Now and downgrade your soul. Your soul is so cheap that it could just be put inside of an aluminum can and stored for later. And it'll last forever in like a cooler. We could put your soul in a cryogenic igloo and take it out, on a 4th of July. You can come back and celebrate your Independence Day in the year 2085, Grandpa Joe. You're gonna save your soul in a cryogenic lunchable chamber, and then we'll see you at the picnic in 2085. So yeah. CERN, simulation theory. Also, like I said, bad guys, good guys. CERN, obviously. Bad things coming in. Well, we're discovering stuff too. We're crashing particles and opening up black holes. So fuck you, man. Maybe if a few demons come through the doorways, you know, so what? You're not doing anything. You're telling me you don't have a computer? Go fuck yourself, man. You're ungrateful. Get out of here. So what if a few interdimensional demons and all that, you know, that's their story. Even if you don't believe it, now you can see emphasize their shit anyway. So CERN also puts them up in godlyhood too. CERN makes them godly because now they can enter in, they're opening up doorways. What is CERN? CERN is a birthing, the way they're selling it, it's a birthing channel. What's another birthing channel? This experience that you are, the spirit vehicle. So what, you know, CERN is designed to make it look like they're God. If they can allow, if CERN can open up a doorway by smashing particles and make a black hole, which obviously is like a dream within a dream within a dream, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. They're doing that to emphasize that they are gods and can let souls come here. They can do that. They have the power to do that. And then that goes back to what's the definition of a soul. If something is coming through, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. If something is coming through, what is that thing? Is that thing equivalent to you? Is your soul? So whatever thing does come through, that's another way to convince you of downgrading you of your soul. Whatever things come through is going to be defined based upon how they determine what the soul is in the first place. And it will be determined on comparison to you. That comparison will downgrade you. The same way comparing us to monkeys downgrades us in our soul expression. So if they can open up portals, they can play God. They're playing God, and they can make you worship them as God. So selling you of the jobs thing, obviously, New World Order, jobs is just selling you slavery. That's why they have to talk about it. And people aren't going to realize the idiocracy of it all. It's stupid to think that they would sell technology and automation for decades. And then when it's here, now they make it like, oh, no, it's for an agenda. So healthcare suppression, obviously, keep everybody sick, keep everybody codependent, keep everybody not only codependent on, you know, not being sick, but codependent on the healthcare system and the system overall. The food agenda, Black Lives Matter, all these protests and all this other stuff, controlling of your movement, and then telling you. So Black Lives Matter is a way to commercialize the conversations that we're having. The Me Too movement is to commercialize the conversations, the so-called conversations that women are having. That's another thing to compartmentalize and separate all these discussions. 9/11, same thing. All these are all controlled. Social media and will be released and are being released. Alex Jones and Joe Rogan talking about 9/11 right now and all this other stuff is a controlled release. For the timing, for what? On purpose. To sell in the New World Order. Social media is a direct link. They can sell New World Order mentalities directly to your children now through their apps. Facebook, Instagram, they're getting New World Order notifications. Do you want your New World Order notifications to show up on your security screen? Yes. Television, obviously. So China, this whole thinking your separation from China. No, China is the most materialistic nation in the whole world right now. And who's the pusher of materialism? The biggest pusher of materialism? Well, Hollywood. Who's the biggest, so they're one and the same. Obviously, computers, materialism, it's the same consciousness, just in a different style. So However, China gets involved if they get involved. See, this is how China can play in the New World Order, and how it's going to be played, one or the other. It's only two ways. Either they're going to get involved partially or some kind of way, and everybody will be like, yay, China's coming together and we can do this. And they'll want to come together just because China, the other threat, with the biggest threat, is now not a threat anymore. So now we can come together. The other side is China doesn't join the New World Order mentality and tells the New World Order go fuck off. And now the New World Order has a villain to attack as the superhero, which makes more sense because, well, depending on, I don't know the depths of the relationship that China has with all that thing and so on and so forth. So either way, it doesn't matter. Either way, the effect is going to be the same, because they're just going to, it's about people not thinking for themselves. So China is all about automation, all about materialism. When they sell you this, so they're going to sell it to you, your definition. All these questions I'm bringing up are going to be sold to you. So the definition of humanity is going to be created by the commercial system, and they're going to sell you a version of that, and they're going to sell it to you the same way they sold you how you think about slaves and jobs with kids. They're going to use like, hey, all these, kids, they're going to dumb it down and make it kid friendly. So that once the New World Order becomes kid friendly, who's going to go against it? Let's see. So as long as, and that's, as long as you're not thinking for yourself, that's when you can accept the kid-friendly consciousness and that mind control. Jobs are sold to people like healthcare or something incomprehensible to not have. Oh, okay. Yeah. Jobs. So your enslavement, jobs. It's sold to you like healthcare, like you need healthcare. You know, how could you be healthy without healthcare? Come on, stupid. You need a job to have healthcare. Come on, stupid. What's wrong with you? Get your shit together. Get your life together. Get your experience together. What's wrong with you? All that. And then in that same conversation, you tell that person, what do you think, something's wrong with my soul? Is something wrong with my soul because I don't have healthcare? Is something wrong with my soul because I don't have a job? Is my soul okay? Is your soul okay because you have a job and you have health care? How's the health of your soul doing? See, that discussion it makes people in that world insecure. And then they have to ad hominem attack you and then go into the whole like, well, you're a religious this and you're a religious that, and they don't even deal in the spirit world. They can't even comprehend people talking spirit language or soul language. So to not feel uncomfortable in that world, they have to pigeonhole you into something that the system told them to comprehend you as. This is the not thinking for itself world. That's the proof. You ask them a question, they just don't even answer the question. They have no way of answering the question. And their response is to attack you personally with another question, few questions. And that's an avoidance. It's a distraction from the soul work that they haven't done because they're in a mediocre, materialistic soul illusion. So yeah, the soul illusion is made indispensable. The realm of your enslavement is made indispensable. Like it's incomprehensible to think about not having a job because it's incomprehensible to think about not having healthcare, not having food, not having water, not having a house, not having your own health, not having, you know what I'm saying? So as long as that system keeps getting glorified, what are you going to do? I'll leave it there. That's pretty much it. Went longer than I wanted to, but I had to find my way back to this list that had an idea of, you know, what it was, but I found it. So yeah, this automation thing is not even worth watching. It's pretty much just dead now. You can sum it up. I summed it up in like 5 seconds of like what it's about. Like, you only really said like 5 seconds worth of things in this whole thing. The rest is dramatic comedy, a dramatic attempt at comedy. That's what all of comedy is, even stand-up comedy. It's a dramatic attempt at comedy overall. The way they're acting like that is garbage. I don't even want to get into this right now. It's a different video. So yeah, everything I was listing off is pretty much the stepping stones, or the way the system is looking to get towards the New World Order. Working its way towards there through your own lack of paying attention, really. So yeah, and that's, I want to emphasize that, because the lack of paying attention is emphasized within whole movements. The truther movement is the lack of paying attention to the truth of empowering yourself. The New Age of movement, and focus all the energy on reactionary or lie-based truth. In the New Age movement, it's to distract from like all the stuff that's happening in the other world, to say, well, that's those people creating all these prescription drugs. So it works both ways, for the so-called positive and the so-called negative. There's a difference. There's a difference there in those worlds. You get the so-called positive and the so-called negative. That's what's being sold. And people believe it because they don't think for themselves, and they don't think for themselves because they can't think for themselves, because they've been conditioned to not think for themselves. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for hanging out. Kenya, you got something to say? Now you're going to be all quiet now. She's like, what? And she's chilling. So anyway, thank you for joining me. Thank you for the support. And from until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.